Okay, now we play with the against the Japanese player.
Miyasaka, I think, was the Olympiad in Zigen, no, in 1970, no?
1970, yes.
Yes. So that was this Olympiad. It was our last game, Bobby and myself. We played the last time there.
Okay.
So, okay, after the main line, the Najdorf defense for black, the Najdorf variation for black, one of the main lines from the Sicilian, even now. And his opponent, the Japanese player, played one of the most efficient lines for white, but in reality he didn't understand very well the small differences in any position for white and for black during the game. We'll see later on. Yes.
But did you thought about that this will be your last games between you and Bobby?
Yeah, we played 4 times, and our last game was in Zigen in 1970.
But did you thought at the moment that maybe it will be the last game?
No, of course. I hoped we meet many times afterwards. Yeah. But nobody knew what will happen after their fantastic games from Reykjavik, where he became world champion.
Yeah.
Everybody was prepared for a long period with Bobby world champion, and it happened,
Yes, we know.
Afterwards, it was a small tragedy for chess that, changed completely the chess history, unfortunately,
True.
Yeah, okay, this is the main line against bishop e3, e5, knight b3, bishop e7. Now, black is trying to come very quickly on the queen side, not to allow too much control on the square d5 and on the d file. We saw some other games, and some other example where white could come to a very strong play on the d file, controlling the d5 square. Here we see the opposite, from the black point of view, you see.
But why white will choose to come with the knight on b3 and not f3?
F3 is also possible, but doesn't give too much, because the knight in b3 usually in some variations has the possibility to come to a5, later, you see, and controlling the squares from the
white bishop.
No, this part of the white squares on the queen side, a4, d5, and so on. On f3 the knight is not doing too much, and in reality white has to play normally on the queen side in that variation. So the knight in b3 must be better than in f3.
Okay.
But the move order is very important here. If you are a little bit too late with white, you lose the initiative. This is the problem. Who has the initiative in that line? White or black? If white plays probably the best moves, white is still a little bit better, But if white doesn't play one move, he gives one move, the initiative is almost decisive. We'll see what happens.
You lose the initiative, you lose the game.
Yes, you lose the game, as always, In Sicilian is always like this, Black has to equalize, but if he has the possibility to take the initiative, almost in every game, black wins. So we see a very good example here, you see. Okay, bishop e6, castle. Until now, everything is normal. Knight bd7, f4, okay, f4. After f4, now is move by move from here, you see. So what if we have rook c8? Okay. If I remember, probably the best way to play here is a4 and afterwards f5. You see, a4, stopping the control of b5. Black doesn't have too much initiative on the queen side, and white waits a little bit. For instance, a4, castle, and after castle, f5. And now everything is almost forced. You have to take in b3 or bishop c4. Bishop c4 is better. And after bishop c4, okay, the position is normal. Nothing happens, you see.
Mm-hmm.
White is very little better. That was one of the main lines later on, many years afterwards, played by Karpov himself with white, you see. That is the line. If you don't pay attention here, later on, white has a good possibility to come on the other side with g4,
Mm-hmm.
like this. But of course, the Japanese player didn't understand very well the position, and you see the result would be, very unpleasant for White later. He changed a little bit the plan and he played h3. h3 is not necessary. It's a bad move, h3.
It's a loss of time.
A lot of time, of course. Now he played b5. You see the difference already, no?
Yeah.
You didn't play a4. Black plays immediately b5, no? Okay, so now a3. a3 again. He had to play a3 because it was already a threat. If black plays b4, then you are in danger to lose the e4 pawn. And if you lose the e4 pawn, it's too much, Okay, but now we have a Sicilian where black has already a small initiative and white played two unnecessary moves, h3 and a3. So now black takes the initiative, of course, immediately. Castle, and here again, queen e1. Okay, queen e1. He didn't like that, but maybe even here was okay to play f5, even if black could maybe come to a counterplay. I mean, sure, he has the possibility to come to a counterplay by playing, but instead of rook e1, queen e1, f5. f5 was still possible,
Yeah.
Okay, after queen e1, now it's clear. After knight b6, white has to do something very quickly and he has to change the plan. The idea with f5 is not so effective because he lost too many tempos, h3, a3, queen e1, 3 moves in Sicilian is much too much, So okay, so he took in e5. Now we have another position.
But if he moves f5,
if he moves f5, the bishop c4. But now is a very big difference because if you take in c4, he is not forced to take with the pawn or with the rook. He takes with the knight, and you are almost lost with white. You see, he's a threat in e3 and in b2, and black has complete initiative.
Yeah.
But if now you take in e5, is a complete. Is another position where white changed the idea and black has, too much. The initiative is very strong already here. He didn't do anything on the king side. Black did everything on the queen side.
Yeah.
And that is decisive, especially if you play Bobby or a very strong grandmaster, Okay, queen g3, probably the only way to try to do something on the other side, All right, knight a4, fantastic move again, very strong. Because why is very strong? Because threatens the knight from c3 and the pawn from e4. You see. That is the idea. And now the position is critical for white. After rook d1, this is the fourth move that gives black the strong initiative because it has another move which is in between. After rook d1, he has time to move something else. The queen is attacked, but he doesn't move the queen. He takes first in c3.
Yes. But
if he took in a4, black takes in there, and the threat is taking in e4. If you move the knight to d2, to give, you have to take in a4, he takes, and knight d2. But after knight d2, you lose the pawn from c2, and again, the position is completely lost for white.
Understood, okay.
Yeah, so rook d1, rook d1, with the hope to play first bishop h6, but it's too late. Now it's already too late. Now first knight takes e3, you have to take. If you look the position, the white structure on the queen side is destroyed,
Yeah.
In any endgame, he is completely lost, But he doesn't arrive to endgame here because the position is much too strong for black, you see. So now queen c7, and now the last hope, bishop h6. And after bishop h6, very simple, knight e8. Everything is protected. But in the same time, white has too many weaknesses. If he loses the pawn from c3, he loses everything, here. What to do? Rook d3. Okay, but now, after rook d3, again, very simple, king h8. Now you have to move back the bishop, You have to move back the bishop. And here, bishop c4. All right, what to do?
But wasn't better to pick up this pawn from here with the bishop?
Instead of king h8? No,
Yeah.
but it's not necessary. The way Fischer played is a demonstration. What to do is completely winning strategical position, you know.
What to do
Very simple.
without doing anything?
Yeah, I mean, the
With
simplest
waiting.
way, the
Yeah.
simplest way. So you have to move back, and now, move by move, white is always a little bit worse until the last position where everything is decided.
Crashes.
You know? Yeah. Rook d2. Rook e3 lost at least the exchange after rook e3 because he has time to take in b3 and then bishop c5, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
But how about rook f3? Instead of this coming here.
No, but he loses the piece.
He loses the pieces. Yeah, sorry.
Has
Yes.
to be very, you know.
Yes.
Rook d2 not to lose the piece. You know?
Yes, true.
So, okay, now, you see, now here he could win a pawn, but he doesn't win the pawn because he's too, you know, he's too little. I mean, he wants, of course, he wants much more, you know. Knight f6. Logical, he attacks the weakness. You have to move the queen in f3. And now here, queen c6. Again, he wants to take the central pawn. The central pawn is decisive. If you lose the pawn from e4, everything is, you know, finished for white. But look at this. The only move, bishop d3, not to give the pawn immediately, you know. And here, again, he accepts to trade the bishop. Now, if you take with the pawn,
yes,
any counterplay, you know, is gone. After queen takes c3, you almost lost the knight. The only move here is rook b2, because otherwise you lost the knight. But to play rook b2, you know, you can resign. But after rook fd8, you know, rook fd8, you lose also the pawn from d3. Black here, he could take the pawn from a3, but you see, taking the pawn from a3 without any counterplay. You see.
Yeah.
This is already the big difference.
Yes.
Okay, so demonstration again. So he has to take with the rook. And now the decisive part of the game. Very easy, of course. If you lost the e4 pawn, you know, in the same time, white could resign here already. Knight takes, and the last moves are, you know, demonstration, how to win a completely winning position. Okay, queen g6. Black comes to a decisive attack on the other side. Okay, king h2, and what? f5 now, f5. Now, the knight stays forever now in e4. He has complete control on the king side, and he can come quickly with the other pieces. So, right, what? Bishop b2, look at this. Bishop b2. But he has no moves.
Bishop is going after the knight, I guess.
No, I mean, he has to do something, but instead of resigning, he played bishop b2. And now, the decisive attack, bishop. Very easy also. Now is no defense against bishop f4 check with decisive threats. All right, rook d1 and check. And what? There, check in g3. Come. And knight h5. Now check. King has to go back, and now you lose everything after e4.
He resigned here.
Yeah, has to move, and now e4 loses every piece.
True.
You see? In a few moves. Punishment. Punishment, why? Because Sicilian is such an opening, like King's Indian and Sicilian. If you lose one or two tempos with white, you are also in danger to lose the game. Is the fight for initiative, always, immediately after the opening. But in Sicilian,
it really matters, this fight.
It's even worse, you know. If you lose two moves, it's more than enough.
So fight for initiative.
For initiative, yeah, of course.
And
it's move by move, you know.
And with black, if you lose the initiative?
If you lose the initiative, you can come to very short games like this, you know, published all over the world, you know.
I see.
With sacrifices and so on. But very beautiful because, and it was beautiful because, as you see, it was fight between humans, you know what I mean?
True.
The players who played, not the machines like
the brains,
today, you know. Yeah.
The brains.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
You're welcome.